Alright, welcome, and this is going to be an overview of the boss theme that I made today. So, took me about, let's see, took me about an hour and a half. Sorry I didn't record it, I had already gotten some parts of it done last night, and those weren't recorded, so I would have felt bad if I would have just, started from, not the beginning, but from where I left off. So instead I just finished the song and brought you guys back in so I can show you how everything works in it. So first I'll give you a little listen, and I will get back to you at the end. Alright, there you go. And you can see how it loops from here to the beginning, because this is going to have to loop, obviously, when it's being played in the game. Alright. Anyway, I guess the best place to start is the beginning, right? So, alright, notice how I don't have, like, two chords here, and then the one long chord right here. This chord is dramatically longer than all the other chords, and it doesn't just stay there. There's like a sharp attack, and then it builds back up to get suspense into the actual more melodic parts of the song, I suppose. So let's just look at the trumpets. Right, so that is the bare bones of this idea, this musical idea. And if you go even more, I guess, fundamental than that, it's just really these notes. So, E, G, F sharp, and F. That's all it is, really. So let me see if I can just have those play. Mute these. So that's all that was going through my mind when I was first making the song, just those notes right there at this part. Everything else is to embellish just that very simple melody. So everything that sounds all complicated and grand is just around. The drum rolls, the crash cymbals, the choirs, it's all riding off of that melody. So chords down here to give it some girth, I guess. Sounds very ominous, so this part, everything else will be up to any other artist to decide what they want to fill that gap in with. So I just chose to fill it with choirs, strings, timpani, and drum rolls. So right there's a nice drum roll that helps the chord get some flavor throughout it instead of just a long you know what I mean? So the drums, they go from a faster rate then to more like 16th notes over here. I chose to do this to also not only give like a different texture near the end, but I don't know, there's really the first rule of music is there are no rules, so as long as it sounds good to you, I mean, that's one of the most important, probably not the most important, but one of the most important things. So this sounded nice to me, so I rolled with it. And this sharp attack right here, it's best when you do drum rolls to do 3 or 4 major hits at the beginning instead of just one, because if you just listen to what it sounds like with just like one major hit and then roll, it sounds like this. Just doesn't sound as satisfying as something more rolled off like this. Let me get like a nice shape. At least to me, I prefer the more rolled off sound. But timpanis, you know, those big things, those big drums they used to play around with in band. You'd like hit them and then use your foot to like bend the pitch, and it would go like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's what I did. I wasn't really I wasn't a class A timpani player. I'll just put it like that. I believe this note goes right into the melody right here, so it's nice to land on the next note that you're going to be using in the next part of your song. This choppy thing is to break up this, and this is being led by this, which is again in the snare drum technique, not just one hit and then build. It's a couple hits that slow their velocity down and then it builds for a nice effect. So this is just even copying the melody itself, even though it's not a melodic instrument. And then it lands on that. Strings are kind of doing the same thing the male voices are doing, just only 2 of them. I don't want to clutter it up too much. I want the trumpets taking most of the room. So, same thing. Alright, and that's basically the beginning. Okay, so this next part. Alright, so basically in my recent composing, I've tried my best to base everything off of the melody. So this is the melody that I had. Anyway, the reason I can get away with having this much repetitive content here. By the way, I layered up the octaves, so it's got like a thicker trumpet sound anyway. Anyway, the reason I can repeat this and this is because I have some really nice chord changes with my choirs down here that complement that. So if you listen here, just with the choirs. And it changes over here. That's used a lot in music, where they just keep the same melody, but they change everything else but the melody, and it has a really nice effect, especially if you're going with this grand, very, very slow waltz or kind of battle music. It has a really tense and ominous, nice effect, depending on how you use it. And the drums are just doing like little drum rolls. And those aren't the drums. Pair those with the timpanis. The timpani is mimicking the root note of the choir chords. Just fun fact. And these, although they're not necessary, they're just little embellishments that make the song not as boring to listen to, because when these big chords are going on and these long melody notes are going on, you kind of need something to fill in those gaps. At least I thought I did, so I liked how it sounded. As you can see, I'm an obsessive saver, because I've lost so many projects and so many songs that I just wish I could have gotten back. So I save a ridiculous amount. So for this next part, I'll just segue in. For this part, once again, I had a bass melody that I worked everything else around. So that melody is as follows. So it goes dun 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 dun. Something like that. You get the idea. But basically, all I had at the beginning that I wrote was this, and then this above that, and then this above that. Everything else was worked on from that. So everything embellishes that idea. So I took that, copied it over, made made some changes in the melody in this part, and a change in that part. If you can hear, I'll just solo the trumpets. Right there. That's the part that I changed here to keep it not too bland, and then this part's completely, well, not completely different, but pretty different. Instead of landing on such a finite note in the scale, a dominant note, it lands on a I forget what it's called, maybe a subdominant note, or just a note that's not as finite sounding as this one. Instead, it's to give room for this next part to come in. As far as the percussion, still keeping with the snare drum rolls. The timpani has a different rhythm to break up the monotony of this rhythm that I had over here. And like I said, in the previous part of the song, where I didn't want things to get bland, so I added this. That goes the same principle for this. So if you listen without it, and with. There's just something there for the listener to listen to as he or her is progressing to the next part of the melody. So, this is a crash cymbal, I believe, just to give it some extra pizzazz, I guess, at the beginning of the measure. And so this is kind of a duplicate of that, but some minor changes. Also, the timpani is doing some different things right here, too. And then it's these two are kind of linked together over here, where this is doing this, and this is doing a slightly different version of this. So it's just that basic idea, but over here changed it up a little bit for the most dramatic part of the song. So, let's just listen to the trumpets. Okay. So right here, you can definitely tell there's a change in octave. So listen how low these are compared to this. So I raised the octave because we're getting into the more climactic parts of the song. So it's often a used technique. But anyway, drum roll's doing the same thing. Different, but still pretty similar. It's just a drum march. While down here we have more crash cymbals to emphasize the importance of how climactic this part is getting, kind of building up to this measure right here, or this bar. So there's a lot in this little area, right? So basically what I did was to break up the monotony of just the short stabs from the trumpets. I took the root note of each chord and I dragged it out, so it's got more of a more exciting feel to it at the end. And then it goes into this part. Also, between the dit, 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 there's little embellishments up here on the trumpet that kind of bring up like the tension even more. So if you can listen to that. And then it finally goes to this. Okay, right here, something I want to bring your attention to is this chord. It's kind of like it's a melodic drum roll, I like to call it. It comes in and stabs at you really fast, and then it goes away, and then it slowly builds back up, just like the beginning of the song. That really long chord that we were dealing with at the beginning. It's just like that. It's just a smaller version to bring up tension to the final count of this song. And then it just loops. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next time on the next song that I make for this game. Have a nice day.